Hey YouTube, I'm Brian with Some Pick Treasures. Are you curious about being a part-time reseller? Well, I'm here to talk about my confession of the last year of the good, the bad, and the unexpected. My goal was to sell $200 to $300 a month, and what got me into this was I've collected antiques and been to a lot of thrift stores, yard sales, and I have a lot of items that I no longer want because I've got better items to get them replaced. I'm going to take you on a journey of sharing what motivated me, the challenges I faced, and the experiences I had along the way. I always wanted to jump into eBay and actually starting, and I was one of those people who watch hours and hours of YouTube learning, and I kept saying, I'm going to start Monday, and then I'm going to start the next Monday, and I finally just decided to start. I was on OfferUp, and I seen a lady was selling grocery store shelving for $1 each, and so the first thing I did was contact her and told her I wanted 85 shelves. Well, I pulled in a Camry, and she actually laughed at me because she said there's no way 85 shelves are going to fit in your car, and I said, well, let's try it. So I went ahead and started loading, and her husband helped as I packed the car, and I was actually able to get 65 shelves in. On my way home, I got notification about a miter saw that was free, and I picked that up. And then I drew out plans of my shelving, and then went to Home Depot, and that kind of started my journey of Some Pick Treasures. I was excited to get my eBay store open, and then I also created somePickTreasures.com. One thing that I read in a lot of the eBay forums is that when you first open your store, you'll get a lot of scammers, and that was definitely true. I had probably 20 items that I posted, jackets that I had pulled out of my closets, and then I also purchased some books, and unfortunately about 5 of the jackets that I posted were scammers. And so you hear that ching, and you go and you run, you're excited that you have this sale, and then you find out it's a scammer. And that happened 5 times before the 6th time when a book actually sold. So that book kind of made my day, and since then the scammers have definitely reduced. So if you're starting out this journey, just be aware that you will get some scammers. One thing I did learn too, when you're posting and you're taking your photos, you want to make sure that you're using a white or black backdrop. I also use wood on some items, but eBay suggests using white and black, and so I thought it'd be really cool to use some backdrops that were wallpaper, and that didn't work out for me. So I ended up pulling off many of those items with the wallpaper and retook those photos. This was a huge learning curve for me. If you search an item on eBay and it says, do you have an item to sell? You click that, you add your photos, you make a few changes, and then you post it. Well, I found out a lot of the categories that were entered were incorrect. And so one of the things you want to do if you go that route is make sure you review all the item description and make sure that the item category is correct. When you first start posting, make sure you get your titles correct. You don't want to use the word vintage. You definitely want to stay away from that starting. You want to normally put in the manufacturer's name. So that's something I learned early on, and put vintage or rare at the end. And if you're using the word rare, make sure it's actually a rare item. You'll hear a lot of people voice their opinions about the overusage of rare. One of the learning lessons that I learned is actually going and looking at sold items. I would just go look at what comps are and what they're selling for, and then I would post my item. And so now I make sure that I go into product research and look for the sold items before I actually price the item. In the beginning, I didn't actually use the option to allow offers. And so one of the things is I'd get very low ball offers. So definitely follow that 10-30 rule that most people talk about. Post your item, do 10% of an automatic approval, and then up to 30% for your item. And then it gives you the choice on that 30% range if you want to accept it, because you know what you paid for the item. So definitely make sure you use that feature. With shipping, I failed to actually round up that 3 to 5 ounces for packaging material. So that's something that I learned a lesson on, and I will lose 75 cents here or there because I didn't include it. Sometimes it was more than that. So make sure if you're starting out, you definitely include that 3 to 5 ounces extra so that you don't have to pay the additional fee. You want to make sure that you're using Ground Advantage and priority shipping so that your buyers have the option to choose. In the beginning, I only had priority, which is a lot more money. So definitely look into that if you're first starting out your eBay store. Also, if you need boxes for priority mail, you can go onto the USPS website, as well as you want to start capturing boxes and recycling those boxes. Whatever you have delivered to your home, make sure you start keeping that in the packaging material, because using those recyclables will help lower the cost with shipping. One of the biggest challenges that I actually face is getting your items prepped and ready for shipping. Being a everything seller, you have all different sizes. And when I'm purchasing books, most books are standard size, so you can use the same type of box or the same size. If you're using patches, you can use the same type of poly mailer. But when it comes to actual fragile items, and you have lamps and all different size items, and you need to double box those items, it could be frustrating, especially if you don't give yourself enough time to get to the post office. And so one of the things that I would do is set up and package in the morning before I went to work, because I am a part-time reseller. And so that could make or break my morning. So definitely make sure that you're packaging your items in the evening. I think one of the areas that is a little bit frustrating for me is your customer feedback. I would say about 50% of my feedback comes back, and it's all been positive, but I'd like to get more than that. And unfortunately for me, it just hasn't happened. So I tell myself, if they haven't said anything negative, that means that it must be positive. One of the things that I'd say I started in the beginning is I'm going to go to the thrift store, and there's a Goodwill right next to the post office, also a humanities store right next to it. And unfortunately, both of those stores seem like they're above eBay prices. You definitely are going to want to buy it because you love it, not because you want to resell. So those two stores I kind of stay away from now. Occasionally I might just walk in to see if there's something that may catch my eye, but for the most part, I'm not going in and checking out their items in the store. With that, I got myself into a little bit of trouble, and that is going with online estate auctions. And so when you look at the online estate auctions, you see some really good deals. And one of the good deals that I had was a mystery lot, and I definitely wanted this mystery lot, and I bid up to $50, and 4 carloads later, full. I have all these items that I had to go through that ended up in my death pile, and some of it was not worth my time. Others were donations, and then some was posted. So definitely be careful with those mystery lots unless you have the time. But as a part-time reseller, I don't have the time to invest in multiple hours to go through boxes and boxes. So that was a huge learning lesson for me. One thing that makes it nice when you are looking at the online auctions is you can get some good deals. I purchased a bunch of vintage lighting, and with the lighting was a lot of glass shades that were valuable, and I only paid $5. So you just don't know what you're going to get when it's an online auction. I've got a lot of great things on the auction, so if you're starting out, really take time and use the auctions as a source. You can see what's in the lot and see if it's something that you want to purchase or not purchase. And so that's been really successful for me as well. As I mentioned, that huge mystery lot added to my death pile. So if you are or have a death pile, make sure that you really take some time as you're boxing your items, especially if you're going to the estate online auctions, because you get to pack your items when you arrive to the home, label your items, pack everything, categorize it, and write with a marker on the box so you know exactly what's in that box. And you don't want to waste time, so if you have items that you know you don't want, make sure that you write a donation box, and on your way home, drop it off at the thrift store so that you get those items donated. Also, check out my death pile video on YouTube. Make sure you track your mileage when sourcing or doing anything for the store. It definitely helps out with your taxes. Also keep those receipts so that you have them, keep everything organized. I try to keep everything by month. After a year of reselling, here's a few takeaways that I have. First, remember you're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes, and you're going to pick yourself up and learn from those mistakes. If you're a part-time reseller or even a full-time reseller, you want to make sure that you stay organized, keep that death pile organized, because as you get through those 5 to 7 items daily, you want to make sure that you're using that scheduling feature. The scheduling feature will allow you to post your 5 items. If you do 7, you have 2 extra and you roll it into the next day. And that's so important to try to get that 5 items a day so that your eBay store maintains traffic and you have those items continually posting. You'll find the scheduling feature under pricing. I'd like to thank you for joining me on this journey of hearing my confession for the last year as a part-time reseller. Share your stories below. And if you liked the content, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.